ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Woman King herself, Ofumukwata, Odogu.
Good morning.
Odogu.
How are you this morning? Rufy on fire.
Odogu Silencer.
Now I know the meaning of Odogu Silencer. Good morning, our international correspondent. Do you know how excited I get when Femi is on set with me? How are you this morning?
Okay, thank you, Oji. How are you doing?
You've been doing well. Doing really well.
It.
Good morning, our favorite Niger wife.
Good morning.
Excuse me that I greeted Femi.
It's
from the excitement.
How are you? Because I've got dust on my passport.
No, don't worry. No, but I told you, both of you have implications tomorrow now.
Oh,
So.
tomorrow. Because, you know,
I never forget anything.
Carpet.
Okay, you can join them. You can join them. I'm just
When you
kidding.
said international, what comes to my mind was International Superstar Soccer Deluxe. Second.
Pay a lot. Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending with reactions trailing comments made by the Sultan of Sokoto, Mohammed Saad Abubakar III, who has described social media as a terrorist organization following the recent killings in Plateau State, highlighting its role in spreading false information and inciting unrest. The Sultan made the comment during the 7th Executive Committee meeting of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council in Maiduguri, Borno State. The Muslim leader urged security agencies to address the issue of fake news being spread on social media with the seriousness it deserves, akin to other threats to national security. Let's take a look.
People don't know what Fulani is. Please read books. People don't know what can we read books. Everything is there. And that's how we thank the government for bringing back history. Some of us try to close the history books as though history does not exist. You can't read history. You can't. What happened has happened, and it's there written. You can't come and through social media. But that's one terrorist organization, social media. Social media is a terrorist organization. What they do, somebody sit in his comfort room and formulate stories, and you will swear that it's true. So, social media is a terrorist organization that we must deal with. Security agencies must deal with this terrorist organization called social media.
All right, this is a very loaded statement, very heavy. A lot of reactions have trailed it, obviously because, you know, he's talking about social media and users on social media have reacted. Let me take this from Step Up Niger, who wrote, statements like this are worrying and deeply dangerous. Social media is not a terrorist organization. It's a tool, a platform where Nigerians organize, speak up, and hold power to account, especially when traditional systems fall short. The real threat isn't social media. It's the leadership vacuum, lack of justice, and broken trust that fuel frustration in the first place. Yes, misinformation should be addressed, but silencing citizens is a slippery slope to authoritarianism, not a solution. We need leaders who solve problems, not suppress voices. Kind of agree with Step Up Nigeria. I'll take this other tweet. This is from Abudu, who wrote, terrorist organization might sound dramatic, but he's not far from the truth when you look at it from a bigger picture. Terrorism isn't just about violence. It is about spreading fear. And in today's world, fear travels fastest through one medium, social media. Radicalization at scale. Extremist groups use social platforms to identify, groom, and recruit individuals through memes, videos, and forums. They normalize extremist views and weaponize ideology. Terrorist acts are often designed for maximum media coverage. Social media multiplies this tenfold, turning local events into global propaganda in minutes. Platforms like Telegram, WhatsApp, and even Twitter DMs become tools for planning, coordination, and private propaganda away from law enforcement scrutiny. Gamification of violence. Some extremist groups treat acts of terror like missions or achievements. Social media becomes the scoreboard, rewarding those who go viral with notoriety and admiration in radical circles. Several attackers have broadcasted violence in real time Knowing platforms will amplify the spectacle. This serves both propaganda and psychological warfare purposes. Social media isn't causing terrorism, but it's become a powerful amplifier, recruiter, and stage for extremist activity. Understanding this is key to disrupting the digital ecosystem of modern terrorism. The role of social media in our contemporary world can't be overlooked. That is a loaded tweet, a lot of dimensions with what he has said. And I do also agree with not everything, in part of everything that he said.
No, I think the lion's share of what he said is actually quite apt.
Yes.
And I think that for a tweet, it almost reads like an article or an essay, really, because he's articulated himself very, very well. And I think that what he has done is really identify the problem with social media. I'm quite accustomed to defending social media because I think it serves a great good. And we've had, even before the explosion of social media, we've always unfortunately had crime, had negative issues, and what we might not have had is a vehicle to make people aware of what is happening in the world. Have people been able to weaponize social media to negatively? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I do think that what he said is correct, but I don't think the solution is to ban it or to end it. It's unfortunately another layer of this evil of terrorism.
Absolutely. Let me take another tweet, Rufai, because I know that you want to buttress your point here. This is from Polonium, who wrote, I think what he wanted to say is that terrorists use social media to showcase their crimes. Don't we see how terrorists and bandits post pictures of them sharing money on TikTok? Perhaps that's what he was referring to. I'm sure he has children and grandchildren who use social media, including WhatsApp. Are they terrorists or committing terror? His media aides should quickly do a PR and clarify his remarks. I think his remarks were quite accurate. I mean, he did say it. He reiterated social media as a terrorist organization. I mean, I think that he meant what he was saying in that video, Rufai.
So, social media is not a terrorist organization. It can't be a terrorist organization because what is it? Like he said, it's a media. It's a medium. A medium is a blank canvas. What you put on that medium matters a great deal. Prior to this time, there's something we call books. Historically, when you go back to the 1500s, one of the first major tools that changed the world was the Gutenberg Bible, printed by Johannes Gutenberg, because then it was a big deal reading the Bible and knowing it for yourself. It was when the likes of Martin Luther got a hold of that, he wrote his theatres on Winterburn Gate, and he said, the just shall live by faith. It caused a big liberation in the Christian fold. Then, as printing went of age, people got more information. These are mediums. Then, in the 20s and 30s, Guglielmo Marconi transferred the first radio wave. Then we had radio. That was also used to spread propaganda.
So many different.
What we call traditional form today was used to spread propaganda. In fact, it was said the likes of Father Coughlin spread a lot of anti-Jewish propaganda through the radio. Then in the 50s, the likes of ABS, CBS, and Dumont brought about this new technology called television that had been perfected in the 20s and 30s by the likes of John Longy Bird. It was also used. We had words like the revolution will not be televised. Then DARPA came about. Tim Berners-Lee in 1991, the World Wide Web. All of this platform will be used, but the question is, how is it used? So social media is not the problem. It has also been a force of good. If not for social media, are we going to know about the kid that they were beating yesterday that the governor of Borno saved?
Perfect example, because I also have
another story. If not for social
story
media, are we going to know about the inequity and the crisis that is going on? Are we going to be able to reveal police officers that are doing all of what they're doing?
The girls in Ivory Coast.
The guests in Ivory Coast, if not for social media. So it's what you put on it. Traditional media too can be a tool in the hands of terrorists.
Yes.
ISIS had a newspaper called Dabik that they shared. What can we do? I think the very first thing we should do, the Americans have a cybersecurity force in their armed forces now. We should be able to have a cybersecurity unit that goes ahead that is part of most social media sites that debunk most of these lies and bring clarity. The traditional gatekeepers too can also do that work, which we've been doing.
Absolutely.
Fact-checking most of the stories and all of that. Sometimes we will not get it right.
Yes.
Look at the story of the summon.
The state came out to debunk it afterwards. Most media are taking it. I even took it. But we can quickly retract and say, okay, this is the state of things and what is happening. Then most importantly, educate people more on most of these videos and all of that.
Yes.
But you saying it is the terrorism, it's just a platform. It cannot be.
Yes.
It's also being used as an agent for good.
Yes.
There are people that their faith was strengthened on social media.
Yes, I think that, the Sultan has spoken well, actually, because it has brought this conversation to bear at this point, to the security agencies. And I think what is important is that the information being shared on social media, like that Twitter user alluded to, is the fact that you can actually use that information to trace these terrorists. We have taken stories, Vimbai, where we have seen, videos of these bandits flaunting money and all of that. There's this geolocation. We can track these people. Without social media, we will not know their whereabouts.
Absolutely. Oji, I think most of the valid points have been made already. But I think what I want to talk about is how we can restore trust in our leaders.
Yes.
Because when we speak of regulation around social media, it's a taboo. And this is because so much trust has been eroded between leaders and people. So when social media users hear about regulation of the social media space, they already feel that it's an opportunity for politicians to weaponize the space and gag opposition and gag voices that are counter to whatever they stand for. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done there in us understanding that regulation is important. Everything is regulated. Television, Rufai took us through the history. If you go through the history, most of the media started very liberal, and then we realized that, oh no, there has to be rules. One of my favorite examples is Mussolini, and how Mussolini, before he rose to be a dictator, he actually was used to plant stories
He ran a newspaper. Mussolini.
In an attempt to paint the opposition negatively. So regulation doesn't have to be a bad thing. However, it should not be weaponized. And we need to carry people along to ensure that it is fair and just in its implementation.
Well said, Joel. Thank you. Well, meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, visited Plateau State on Tuesday following the recent killings in the state. The police chief condemned the violence and assured residents that the perpetrators will be caught soon. Egbetokun also recognized the negative impact on local farming communities and urged the public to avoid profiling criminals by ethnicity, stressing the importance of unity in addressing crime.
These criminal elements will soon be surprised, because I know that their days are numbered. And I want to appeal for calm. I want to appeal to our people that we should not profile criminals based on their ethnics. We must stop ethnic profiling of criminals. Criminals must be dealt with as criminals. Criminals don't have tribes. They are just criminals. Let us work together to ensure that the criminals in our midst are dealt with as criminals and not on the basis of where they come from.
All right, Kayode Egbetokun there. I actually wanted to amplify this soundbite because I liked what he said about being against ethnic profiling. We've talked about this issue at large. But, the conversation was widely circulated that he did not even visit the Bassa local government area of the state when he went there. And this is why I'm amplifying the story, because it is important. This issue is not about showing off and making speeches. It's about really identifying the problems. The Inspector General of Police went to Plateau State, and we had our reporter on ground saying that he did not visit the local government area, a worrying situation. In the same vein, Rufai, before I come to you, A Labour Party leader, Peter Obi, has urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to suspend his retreat in France and address the escalating insecurity in Nigeria. Peter Obi made the appeal in a post on X, highlighting the surge in killings and abductions, particularly in Plateau and Benue states during Tinubu's absence. His tweet reads in part, "In the 2 weeks you have been away, over 150 Nigerians have lost their lives to insecurity across Nigeria, especially in Plateau and Zamfara states. The repeated pipeline explosions in the Niger Delta further reflect a nation in distress. In the northeast, Borno State leaders are bemoaning the return of insurgency with troops and civilians being killed randomly. In the southeast, the story is the same, killings and abduction. Amid all these, the CEO of the troubling company called Nigeria is retreating far away land in France from company's headquarters. The primary duty of any government is securing the lives and property of its citizens, and one wonders the type of retreat going on in another country where peace has been secured by their leaders while blood continues to flow in our country. The fight for a better Nigeria is not about individuals. It's about ensuring that every citizen can see, feel, and benefit from the policies and decisions of those in power. I therefore like to urge Mr. President to quickly suspend whatever he is doing in France and rush home to take responsibility by addressing these disturbing issues. That is the new Nigeria that the nation seeks." I mean, that, again, is another strong opposition voice. You know, I like to amplify these sort of conversations. I mean, what are your thoughts with the two stories? I would like for you to start with Peter Obi's call for President Tinubu to return home.
I have a question for President Tinubu this morning. What is the life of one Nigerian worth to you? And how many people more will be killed that'll make you feel, oh, I need to come back home, even if just for the optics? President Tinubu has been in France all this while for his working visit, retreat, whatever he calls it. And we've been hearing people die. And all he has done is the presidency issued condemnation. So I asked him, you asked for the mandate of the people. You were the one that said you wanted to lead the country. How much people will die before you can think of coming back to the country and at least show your presence? Maybe 150 is not enough. Maybe if more people die, because that number has even grown.
Yes.
You know why? Today we're seeing in the papers, they were complaining of Benue, local government, 11 people died. So maybe if it gets to 200 or 500, that's why we say leadership is missing, and we expect better from President Tinubu. Just like we say leadership is missing. The police IG went to an area where something happened. Based on Ferdinand Duro, our journalist there, which we believe and his credibility, says that he didn't visit Bassa. He stayed in Jos and gave a speech.
Why?
So why would you do that? Why didn't you go and commiserate with people and even hear? And as a police chief, don't you know that when you get there, the people will be able to tell you one or two things and give you one or two intelligence that you can use in a military situation. We thought you going there would have been a proper reconnaissance. God, they will tell you some things, you will gather more intelligence.
Yeah.
But nothing has been done. Just like I also want to bring one case to the IG. The case of the man we took in Kwara State. Because of somebody holding money was kept in incarceration and he died in incarceration.
Yes.
We've talked about that case here. Since the day the IG visited and said something will be done, we've not heard anything. So you can see when we say government is faltering and is failing. My question to you, President Tinubu, is how many much more people will die? Maybe you can respond to us and tell us the number of people that will die for you to say, I will leave France and come back and cut short my visit. 500, 1,000. I know your presidential aide and spokesperson will respond to me today.
All right.
But I also hope they will give me a number of the number of people that will die before you can return to Nigeria.
Okay. Vimbai, so they said it was 2 weeks. Is now, how many days has he been away now? I believe
it's been about 1 week.
1 week,
yeah,
right. So I mean, I don't know if he should remain there for another week or just quickly come back home. But we have seen the statements that he's put out, some of it saying enough is enough. I mean, those statements, are they really enough?
Well, I'll give you an example, Oji, of what happened in 2023 during COP28. It was held in Dubai that year when flash floods started in Tanzania and the flooding intensified and the death toll rose to about 60. Mm-hmm. The president of Tanzania, Suluhu Hassan, immediately ended her trip, the official visit at COP28, and went home to attend. 60 was the death toll by the time she got home, to attend to the flooding. So there's absolutely no justification as to why we're facing a crisis of this nature, and it's ongoing. It's not a single incident that happened and, you know, sanity and peace has been restored and we're healing. Mm-hmm. This is a continuing insurgency that is going on, which needs the attention of the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces. Yes. He needs to be on the ground, even if it's just as a show of force, a show of confidence, to lift the morale of those officers who are putting their lives on the line to try and secure these places. It is extremely important that he now comes and that we show that, okay, yes, there's been, you know, we were having that conversation about how much can the governor really do. Mm-hmm. It's now clear that this is not one state. This is several states that are calling out, sounding the alarm to say they are overwhelmed. Wow. This is a time, very apt time for him to, I know in the past, President Buhari used to give a lot of marching orders. There's always debate about how effective the marching orders were. But I think this would be a time for us to hear President Tinubu issue that sort of marching orders to his service chiefs to go and be on the ground at a time like this, so this can be restored.
To his service chiefs to go on the ground, really. Because we are hearing now that, you know, the governor is saying, or telling his, the governor of Plateau State, telling his citizens, his residents, to take up arms now to protect themselves. I believe, you know, like analysts have said, that is a recipe for disaster. I mean, this is the primary duty of the government. We have, you know, employed them to protect us and secure our livelihood, really. Shall we head over to Kogi State, Femi? So I take this story, where former Governor Yahaya Bello has petitioned the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, over alleged defamatory statements made against him by Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. In a petition signed by his lawyer, Bello asked the police to invite Akpoti-Uduaghan to substantiate her claims with evidence or face arrest. If she fails, he also issued a separate letter demanding a retraction and public apology, threatening legal action otherwise. Bello claims the senator defamed him during a homecoming event on April 1st in Okehi local government area of the state, where she accused him of plotting an assassination against her. The former governor insists the senator's remarks violate Section 24(1)B of the Cyber Crimes Act of 2015. I mean, we have been following this story, Adefemi Akinsoya. I mean, when this Yahaya Bello's petition came up online, there were, you know, mixed reactions. Should I take one reaction before I come to you? Sure. And this person wrote on X, Yahaya Bello, facing serious allegations of embezzling billions in public funds, now wants to prosecute a sitting senator. The irony is loud. Oh, loud gone. He should face justice, not distract from it. I mean, I thought that was quite a cheeky joke. But you know, that sort of conversation was online. Like, are you the one now prosecuting people? But everyone is entitled to defend themselves. Yeah. Go ahead, no matter what.
Is Yahaya Bello entitled to defend himself?
Question and answer.
Okay. Well, what I think we need to do here is actually, in all seriousness,
yes.
I think it is quite preposterous for Yahaya Bello to be saying anything other than facing his front, really. I think that when you find yourself in a situation like this, you've got too much business to mind than to be minding what somebody else is saying. So yes, I can understand and to some extent sympathize with accusations being put against you that you believe are untrue.
Yes.
But you've got far too much to be focusing on, especially when it comes to accusations of embezzlement, than to be worrying about Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. I think you need to face your front, Yahaya Bello.
Femi tells Yahaya to face his front. And defamation is a serious problem. But I mean, it's not as serious as embezzlement. That's what that's what
there's no way
you're
near
saying.
as serious.
A quick comment, and then I move to the next story.
There's a lot happening behind the scenes because there is also speculation that is rife that he's trying to see how he can vie for that particular senatorial district as well in the future. So, it's expected. This is unfortunately how politics is played often is in these types of things. Listen, in the issues before the courts, and there's currently a court order, I believe, just stopping discussion specifically between Senator Natasha and Senator Akpabio from speaking on this issue. But Yahaya Bello was also mentioned in that. A number of other names were also mentioned, and they're absolutely entitled to come up and say that we shouldn't be in this conversation. But what is not, it doesn't take away from the fact that we know the undertones of this conversation are now around the potential of Yahaya Bello possibly going from being a former governor to becoming a senator of this Kogi, is a central constituency.
You know that the story is unfolding, is developing. We will follow up on the story as always. Shall I head over now to Rivers State, where a group of women on Wednesday stormed major streets in Port Harcourt, the state's capital, to protest against the imposition of a state of emergency in the state. This is the second major protest by groups of women demanding the return of Fubara in less than a week. The women under the aegis of the Rivers Women Unite prayer group, all clad in red, called for an end to what they described as an unconstitutional state of affairs in the state. They held placards with inscriptions that read, again, "Bring back Governor Fubara. River State economy suffers under IBAS." Let's take a look. Want Fubara. I mean, the state of emergency in River State now has, brought up all of these sort of protests. We saw the same one over the weekend. I took one on Monday with all whites this time now in red. I mean, this is a serious issue, Rufai. I don't know how long this protest is going to go on. Is it going to go on for 6 months? Are they listening? Go ahead, Rufai.
This is a serious issue, but it has also opened market for protest merchants.
Correct, market. Right.
Because we have a lot of protest merchants in this country, people that organize protests.
There's a sign that says NBA, have conscience.
I saw that too.
And at least there's a protest industry in Nigeria. At least they will print a poster, they will print all of that. But what's the substantive matter? The fact that an aberration happened in our constitution under the incumbent president. And these are challenges we must try as much as possible to speak against. A state of emergency has no place in our democracy. Like I've always said, Wike and Fubara, they both benefited from our broken system, all right? Because if you ask other people to divide in that, if you ask people that died in that election against Fubara, they'll tell you there's a lot of high-handedness and everything. So only God knows what happened and what they did, and they got in there. But now they are at loggerheads, they are fighting, things are not well amongst them. Then you have all of these problems, quintessential problems. But the declaration of the state of emergency was not the way to go. We totally condemn that. Hence the MBA debacle and all of that. But there will always be protest merchants. People will get one or two things for protesting and all of that. It's the protest economy We all saw that happen during the Natasha and the Akpabio gates, where they had both factions protesting and all of that. But we must constantly speak and condemn the state of emergency, because we all spoke up against it when Olusegun Obasanjo did it. It's not a fair one for our democracy.
All right, then. Well said. You wanted to say something?
Just very, very, very quickly. I have to say I commend the peaceful nature of these protests.
Yes.
And if they can sustain these peaceful protests, that's also a good thing.
Yeah.
So they believe in something, they're standing by it, they're able to organize themselves, financially induced or not, but it's peaceful and it's orderly. And I think that's very important, because the conversation around protests is a very sensitive one. So it's just good to always remind the public that actually, there's nothing wrong with protests. No matter how much they try to condemn protests, we should never ever be deterred from our constitutional right to protest in an organized and peaceful way. So this is a really good one, in my opinion. But also, Rufai, just speaking to your point, I wonder if they can, all these people who do all these surveys and so forth, I wish they can do a survey and give us the value of the protest economy.
No, it's 3 to 5. It's 3K. Remember when...
No, I mean the economy as a whole. How many billions it's
worth? When people came to protest against us here in Arise, we took our marks to go and investigate and interview them. I think they were fighting over 3 or 4K. Or 2 to 3K. So if per person, it's a big economy.
On a national scale, it's a multi-billion naira
economy. At least the world of poverty.
Isn't it? Well, all right. We'll take the story now under entertainment. Award-winning author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who has been on a book tour granting interviews for her new novel, Dream Count, criticized U.S. President Donald Trump, likening his administration to the corrupt system of democracy often seen in Africa. Responding to interview questions with the CBC network in Canada, the author said that Trump's leadership really does feel like America is being governed by an African big man. Let's take a look.
I grew up knowing, for example, that my parents' friends would come to visit, and when they would talk about politics, they would lower their voices. But they were in a house, and we had a large yard, and there was really no practical reason to lower their voices, but they did. And I think that was just symbolic of the larger political landscape. And so for us, things would happen in Nigeria and we would say, oh, just go to America, that will never happen. So America was this ideal. Mm-hmm. And I think for the first few years, America did feel to me like endless possibility, but also something that I could admire. Mm. So yes, I did. I mean, America it no longer is. America no longer feels aspirational to me. Mm-hmm. Because, for obvious reasons, I think the present administration in the US just feels to me like a Nigerian government. It really does feel like America is being governed now by an African big man.
An African big man. She's not the only one saying Trump is like an African big man. And that's also the worry, really quickly, that even Africans are going to start emulating Trump.
But this is the thing, and also I think that there just needs to be a little bit of caution with this type of rhetoric, because it plants the seed that corruption and bad governance is solely an African problem. So when you see it in other pockets of the world, they're behaving like Africans. Where do you think the Africans learned it from? Who taught Africans corruption? Because I do think that it's the Americans and the British. If you're thinking that's what I have to say.
I like that part of it. I like that new angle, really. Well, all right. Shall we take our good news report now? Highlighting media mogul Mo Abudu, CEO of Ebony Life Group, who has been named in the 2025 Time 100 list of the 100 most influential people in the world for our contributions to African storytelling. Mo Abudu's inclusion also highlights her leadership in the creative industry and her efforts to advance African representation globally through initiatives like the Afro Film Fund and the Ebony Life Place in London. The Ebony Life Group recently acquired a stunning property in the heart of London, set to open in Q4 of 2025. It is a first-of-its-kind cultural and creative hub, offering opportunities for African creatives to monetize their work and elevate their brands. Mo Abudu made the announcement in a post on X, stating that the place will also celebrate the best of African film, theater, music, food, art, and fashion.
What you want to do? Money my do, yeah. And even if the girl like to get the food. Modupa, Olua, yeah. Joy is coming, joy is coming. Dupa, Olua, yeah. Joy is coming. Only the morning, you. Dupa, Olua, yeah. Joy is coming, joy is coming.
Wow, congratulations.
There are
This is
implications.
such a big deal.
There are
Congratulations to Mo
implications.
Abudu. We know that she called it a home for African storytelling and talents to thrive on a global stage. We also know that, another Nigerian chef, Kwame Onuachi, also made the list, which recognizes the impact, innovation, and achievement of the world's most influential individuals. Tributes have been pouring in. Keke Pama described the chef as the embodiment of brilliance, passion, and perseverance. Yeah. I really wanted to congratulate our Nigerians, especially our king woman, Mo Abudu, really. I'd like to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow, and congratulations, Mo Abudu.
Joy is coming, joy is coming. Olua, yeah. Joy is coming. Only the morning.